What's up, guys? It's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com. Welcome to the channel. If you like videos about tarantula facts, weird tarantula behavior, strange observations, like my own tarantulas, feel free to subscribe because I put out videos every single Tuesday on Tarantula Tuesday. Today, I'm very happy to make this video. I'm talking about my top 5 or so favorite things about tarantulas and tarantula keeping. I've had Spidey, who's my first tarantula, and I have a little sling that I got a little while ago. I've had Spidey at least for, let's see, over 6 years. I lose count of how many years I've been doing tarantula keeping. It's been a while. I would say maybe 6 or 7 years or something like that. And I've loved every second of it. Getting a tarantula has probably been one of the most fun and greatest decisions that I've made as far as my personal life and just the enrichment of my life. So I am really happy to share my favorite things about having a pet tarantula so that, you know, maybe if you're thinking about getting a tarantula, this might be something that encourages you or helps you think about other reasons to get into tarantula keeping other than like the feeding videos and things like that, because I think my reasons are a little bit different. A lot of people do actually get into tarantula keeping because they love spiders, they love tarantulas, they love insects or arachnids, they love having a non-mainstream pet. One of the main reasons is because they're really cool and they love the display of them, the showing of them. A lot of tarantulas have some very beautiful coloration and patterns which make them really easy to gravitate to. A lot of people also really love the feeding stuff. I totally get that. I love it too. Well, not so much the feeding stuff because I think that stuff is a little bit gross for me still. Still very squeamish, but I definitely get the display factor for sure. But that's not one of my favorite things. So I would say my number 1 favorite thing, and this is not in any order, but my first favorite thing about having a tarantula is that they are the ultimate introvert. I think for my mental health, I've spoken a bit about my ongoing journey with anxiety. You know, it's just a part of who I am. This has been something that's been really great for my mental health, was getting a tarantula. And for people who are not into spiders or are scared of tarantulas, that might not make any sense at all. But I'm sure that for those of you who have tarantulas and perhaps do struggle with mental illness or things like that, that might make a lot of sense. I used to be really self-conscious about being an introvert, to be honest. You know, I think that in our society, extroversion is certainly something that's more celebrated. I actually got Spidey during a pretty difficult time in my life, and she was really amazing in helping to give me a really healthy distraction. And when I first got Spidey, who's my first tarantula, she allowed me to kind of reflect on introversion and see that it wasn't a bad thing. I really heavily identify with, I guess, the neuroticism of tarantulas. If you have tarantulas, you know how particular they are about their space. They're so nerdy about the way that their tanks are decorated, and they spend so much time like making weird stuff happen in their tank. Like, for example, Spidey is in this weird hole that she spent like a whole day digging. And I can very heavily relate to that. I love watching Spidey spend all day doing something in her tank and then like getting really cozy and just settling in, because that is something that makes me really happy. And so that helped me become more comfortable with that aspect of myself. I think as far as this aspect, my tarantulas are a constant reminder that my space is really valuable, and that sometimes I do really need to slow down and enjoy being in my home, in my space, and making it as wonderful and cozy as it could be so that I have a place where I feel safe at the end of a really busy day. And also to recharge, and that is a big part of being in a home that you feel good about. So that's something that Spidey taught me, or my tarantulas taught me, and something that I really love about them. And I'm also really thankful that I got to reflect on this in my life through watching my spiders, which is, I guess, kind of weird, but also cool. My second favorite thing about tarantulas is just how captivating they are. They're a lot of different things. Tarantulas can be beautiful, they can be terrifying, they can be silly, fascinating. They are multifaceted, which I really like. Multidimensional creatures. They can really be whatever you want them to be depending on how you want to look at them or think about them. I find that as somebody who struggles with anxiety and sometimes somebody who really needs time to get out of my own head, that watching my tarantulas, particularly Spidey because she's bigger and my sling is still really tiny, watching Spidey just do her weird stuff really helps me have a great way to tune out, get away from the noise of my life, and just be totally focused and mesmerized by her. I find her movements really relaxing. The way that she slowly walks around or just does weird stuff in her tank, I love watching that. And maybe I'm a little bit privileged because Spidey's generally pretty calm for most of the time, unless she's going after her prey or something like that. So watching her actually is relaxing. If you have a tarantula that bolts a lot or is always lunging at you when you're trying to feed it or is incredibly active, then maybe it's not as relaxing for you. But in my case, watching my tarantulas is really relaxing and rewarding. And it's one of my favorite things, just the observational part of having a tarantula. It's one of my favorite things about tarantula keeping. The third favorite thing about tarantula keeping for me is how weird they are. And this is something that you really won't know until you have your own tarantula, because it doesn't really get a lot of attention otherwise unless you're like following forums or in tarantula groups where people are posting their own experiences. But tarantulas are very, very strange. One of the most fun things about sharing my tarantula stuff online through videos or pictures or other ways is that I catch them doing some really weird stuff. And I guess this is also the observational part of it, but they do really strange things. Like, I've talked about my tarantulas doing spider yoga before. Spidey has a ping pong ball that she sometimes moves around or plays with. Spidey digs strange holes in her tank. She sits in her water dish like a cat would sit in a box. Tarantulas do crazy stuff, and that is like one of my favorite things that I love taking care of them, is like being able to catch them in these weird moments. And I think that, not that tarantulas have personalities, because they really don't as far as we know, but their mannerisms and their habits, like every tarantula kind of has their own way of being, and I consider that like their personality and like their temperament, and I love that. Like Spidey's always doing really weird projects in her tank, and that's just something that she's become known for. Or like her relationship with her ping pong ball is just very strange. So I think that is a really valuable part of tarantula keeping for me. My fourth favorite thing about having a pet tarantula is that I think they're adorable. I think that, we all think about our tarantulas in different ways. Some of us think about them as beautiful, and, I definitely think that Spidey's beautiful. But I don't know, I think we pick up on different things. And like, I think about how cute her beady eyes are, or how fluffy she is, her tarantula little paws and claws. Like, I think of Spidey because she has so many mannerisms that remind me of a cat, and like cats are my other favorite animal. So I don't know, she just does so many things like my cat would do, like curling into these little spaces like a cat does, and I don't know, just acting really weird, or like wanting to be on a sun patch in her enclosure if there's a little bit of sun somewhere. So like, I don't know, she reminds me a lot about what cats do, and I think it's really, really cute. A lot of times, I think because of their fluffy nature, sometimes I even forget that Spidey's a spider. Like, I think of her more of like this cute, fluffy thing, even that I don't touch or handle. But I don't know, sometimes I have to be reminded that like, oh wow, she's like a tarantula that has venom and things like that. Like, a lot of people don't think these creatures are cute, and I get it. Because like, when I remember that Spidey is a tarantula with fangs, I'm like, oh yeah, like, I get it. But most of the time I think she's really cute and fascinating. So that is my fourth favorite thing. And my fifth favorite thing is perhaps something that I really enjoy is that they're so independent, and this is one of my main reasons for getting a tarantula. If you guys don't know who the jealous cat is yet, I'm actually surprised she's not crying right now, because she's always crying in the background of my videos when I'm doing something with the spiders, and that's why she's called the jealous cat. But the jealous cat's very demanding. Not only is she emotionally demanding, but she can also be a bit demanding as far as her care requirements. The jealous cat is 17 years old, and she has a few medical problems, so she needs a lot as far as vet appointments. She needs a lot of tests. She needs medication twice a day. So that is a big financial responsibility that I have, and it's also a big time and emotional responsibility that I have to her, which is fine, but I don't think that I could do it with another pet at the same time, just because it's so labor intensive right now for me. So having a pet that is not very expensive, and expensive is really, it's different for everybody depending on what kind of tarantula you have, because you might have a very expensive tarantula who has very special needs, but my tarantulas are pretty low maintenance. Spidey's a very common spider, a Grammostola rosea, and she doesn't need anything really special as far as care. So I enjoy having tarantulas because they're low maintenance. I really like their independence, and all I really need to do is keep their enclosure clean, which you really don't have to clean their enclosures too much, especially if they are fasting a lot like Spidey. Give her food and water, and just make sure that she's comfortable. And that is pretty much it. And those costs are pretty minimal once you actually get the tank and the setup. So there's not much to do. Their food is not expensive. So I really enjoy having a low maintenance pet aside from my other high maintenance pet. And I think this also works for me because I can be very, very busy sometimes. And also in my work as a therapist, sometimes at the end of the day, I'm very drained physically, emotionally, mentally. So I think that having an outlet that doesn't take much more of me, and is just kind of there as a support to my enjoyment and my life, is just really nice. So I really like that tarantulas don't need very much to keep them content. And the jealous cat, on the other hand, bless her soul, love her very much, but she needs quite a bit of attention. So I don't have much more to give. So those are my top favorite things about having tarantulas. There's many more, but those are like my big ones. And I wanted to share them because I don't think that, I think a lot of people would say that they really love collecting and the display of it and the feedings of them and stuff like that. For me, I really love about tarantulas, it's more of like the observation part of it, and just getting to know them and take care of them up close and personal. And what they have enriched my life with. So I would love to know what your top 5 things about having a tarantula are, and if you agree with any of mine, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to continue this conversation, because I think that we all have different reasons for getting into tarantula keeping, and I think it's really cool to learn about why other people got inspired to keep tarantulas. So let me know in the comments. I hope to hear from you and talk to you guys there. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll see you next week for Tarantula Tuesday. Take care.